Now, to understand why the air band in the Maag EQ is so incredible, we need to take a little journey through history. Now, there are these unique circumstances where not being able to afford the thing you want actually plays into your benefit, and Cliff Maag is a classic example of this, because when we look into the journey of how the Maag EQ came about, he initially couldn't afford to buy an API or a Neve console at the time. These were super expensive, so he got together with a friend of his and they actually made a console together. Now, when it came time to upgrade that console, he then placed inside of it his own preamps and his own EQs, which he made together with that friend again. And one of their main goals was being able to add more air to their microphones. So they had a vintage C12 that they use as a reference, which is a quite bright microphone, and they would add the EQ to all of their other microphones to see which one sounded the best. This is why, of course, it's called the air band, because he wanted to simply find a way to add air to vocals on his mic. One major issue that they had to hit head on was if you boost a lot of high end in these old school microphones going through these old school desks, the thing you feel like you're going to run into immediately is going to be noise and hiss. Now, how did they get around that? Well, he actually discovered a technique for testing the quality of different components. So rather than relying on their ear tests, they actually were able to scientifically prove and showcase which components would work better. And as a result of that, what the airband does is it's able to boost the top end without affecting the phase of the signal as much. And this is what made the Maag EQ magical. For example, it played a huge role in vocal mixes of Madonna's Ray of Light and Celine Dion's Taking Chances, because it actually retained the original quality of the top end of their vocals while still adding air. Now, that EQ band is really interesting because it isn't a typical shelf. Check this out. Now, what I mean by this, if you pay attention, it's a really interesting EQ curve. If we go to 2.5 kilohertz, can you see how the center frequency is 2.5 kilohertz, which is around about here? However, it's actually bringing up frequencies as low as 500 hertz. And then around about 5 kilohertz, it then flattens out. So it's not continuing to boost all the way up into the stratosphere of frequencies, but it's kind of flattening out. So then you don't end up getting all of that top end that's being boosted, but you just get this nice focus around the kind of gravity of that 2.5 kilohertz. And if we move it to around 5 kilohertz, you can see how it adjusts. 10 kilohertz, 20 kilohertz, and 40 kilohertz. Now, many people say 40 kilohertz, you can't even hear that. What is going on there? But if you look carefully, if I boost 6 dB, it's actually bringing up from around about 5 kilohertz all the way up until around about 20 kilohertz. So then what ends up happening is you end up getting just the top end of the vocal, just the air of the vocal. So if you pay attention, like you can listen to this vocal and you can hear that there's a little bit of a nasalness to this vocal in that 1K, 2K region. Have a listen.
Memories don't live like people do. Them kind of pains, they will deepen you. So when the reaper comes, hard bottom shoes and a three-piece suit.
So rather than EQing that part out, I'm using the Maag EQ to boost the edges of the sound, so to boost the body and to boost the top end, and just listen to how it just balances out that vocal while still giving it a strong sense of clarity.
Memories don't live like people do. Them kind of pains, they will deepen you. So when the reaper comes, hard bottom shoes and a three-piece suit. Writings on the wall in black and white like Beetlejuice. How we gon' teach the youths? All we do is reproduce. Crabs in the barrel, hands out, wanting 3 for 2. The entitlement, boy, you better feed the crew. Man turn wolves, Petronetto, he will eat your food. And I don't even read the news. Papa don't preach, I'm in the choir, you can keep your view. He with bouncing, throw stones, watch me feel amused. If there ain't no blitz between the clip of my P's and Q's.
Do you know what? Thank God that he couldn't afford a Neve or an API at the time, because we may have never had this EQ band. How cool is that?